So in understanding the atonement of the Moshiach, the atonement of Christ, and we say Christ the Son, speaking of the atonement of the Son, because the Father so loved the world, He sent the Son, you understand? And it was the Holy Spirit that overshadowed this Mariam. So it's the Son, S-O-N, not S-U-N, but it's the Son, symbolically maybe S-U-N, but let's understand it from the basic, the first level, like kindergarten. Let us grow up. You understand? Don't be born big, but let's be born again, and as a child, grow up and understand, well, this is the Day of Atonement. We're coming into the Day of Atonement. This is the evening of that time going into the Day of Atonement. So what does atonement mean from the teaching of His Imperial Majesty? And why is atonement to us important as a Rastafari and as once lost but now found Beta Israel, and to the Ethiopian Hebrews at home and abroad, and to all humanity, but in that order. In that order. There's order in our Father's house, and we must maintain that law and order. Not the law of ordinances, but the pure law, the unchangeable law that the Ten Commandments is symbolic of, but we all have fallen short. We all have broken one or more of those. You understand? So a lot of people are on self-righteousness, but they have not received His righteousness. But what does atonement, the atonement of Christos, means? As is interpreted by the Belui Kidan, or the Old Covenant Scriptures, the Old Testament sacrificial types, it has certain necessary elements. Firstly, it is substitutionary. Well, what does that mean? It's a substitutionary. Well, the offering, it takes the offerer's place. In other words, that which is offered is on behalf of us and takes our place. In other words, we, because of our falling short or coming short of His glory and sinning, you understand? Well, yeah, we do sin, but there's only one sin, and that is the nature of the devil that we inherit through Adam in this world, and no one can front on it. No one, many try to front on it, but we're going to deal with those who try to front on it, because you can't front on this. Either you accept it or you reject it. It is substitutionary. The offering takes the offerer's place in bemot, in death. Secondly, the law is not evaded. This is not an evasion of the law. One said, well, the law said that you deserving of that, but the atonement, it gives you reconciliation with the Almighty. That's not right, because you did this and you did that. But the law is not evaded. It is honored. It is honored. This is why when we look at the particular 54th Sabbath and the reading of Moses, it says, yeah, Barakabat, Bereket, Yehich not. This is a blessing, but it also honors the law. Every sacrificial death was an execution. Each time a sacrifice was made in Old Israel, it was an execution of the sentence of the law. The sentence of the law. Thirdly, the sinlessness of Him who bore our chatiyat. He bore our error. He bore our chatiyat. Our sin is expressed in every animal sacrifice. Each and every single animal sacrifice of the Old Covenant, it expressed, and this is very important, it expressed Christ, the sinlessness, because every animal sacrifice of the Old Covenant, see, this is one reason as Rastafari we say we don't deal with like killing animals or eating animals or any of that. Do you know where it really originates from? It originates from this atonement, from the imro, the overstanding of the atonement is the true reason why the true Rastafari, you understand, do not seek to use animals or seek to abstain from animals, seek to wean off of animals, whether eating animals, whether slaying animals, whether persecuting animals, because of all that was done in the Old Covenant. Now we have entered into the King of Kings and His Christ, so that sinlessness of Him who bore our chatiyat, it's expressed and was expressed in every animal sacrifice. It must be, and here's the condition, there's a condition, His love is conditional, it must be without blemish. Each offering had to be without blemish. You cannot offer Him something that was already dying. Say, well, this animal's already dying. I'm going to go and make that atonement for me and my family. You cursed your family. Because you're offering, like Cain did, Cain did, you're offering something sick and feeble. This is what Malachi, the book of Malachi, actually talks about that. Fourthly, the effect of the atoning work of the Mashiach, of Christ, of the Son, is typified, A, in the promises. And what are the promises? It shall be forgiven him. That's the promise. It shall be forgiven him. It shall be atoned to him, but it shall be forgiven. Forgiven. So instead of judgment, it's a yikar. Yikar, when we say yikarta. Yikarta is to say, some say sorry, but it's a deeper meaning. You understand? A deeper meaning is connected with atonement, because it means letting it remain. Yikar. Let it remain. Don't hold it. Don't hold that grudge. Don't hold that malice. Don't hold that enmity. Let it go. This means that I also have to let these things go, you understand, to each other, especially at these times. He won't hear us if we hold any grudge in our heart against our brethren or sisterin or others. If they have wronged us in some way, we have to learn to forgive them, you know what I'm saying, in the King of Kings and his Christ. Charity, love, must begin first at home and then spread abroad. The second part of this is that it's in the peace offering. It's in the peace offering. The effect of the atoning work is typified, one, in the promises, in the expectation, in the hope, it shall be forgiven him, and in the peace offering. You know what they call the peace offering in ancient Egypt? That was called the HOTEP, where they get the HOTEP or HOTEP from. The HOTEP is a peace offering because most of the Kamites were Yahweh worshippers. You understand? They inherited that from their father Noah. You understand? From their ancestor. You understand? Noah. You understand? So all of them, all of the sons, you understand? With the exception of the Canaanu, you understand? Because he was under a Urgum or Rigum, under a curse. But Shem, Ham, and Yafet all were Yahweh worshippers. They knew Yahweh and they walked in Amen. They walked in Aman. They walked in truth. They walked in true and faithful witness as Yahweh worshippers, or Hebrews or Hebrews. They kept to the Shem, you understand, or the Shem, the name. You understand? But then things started to change later on. This is why when it says that Moses got these things out of Egypt, he didn't steal them. He preserved them. You understand? If you understand and overstand Egyptian history properly, but not according to the Eurocentric Egyptology that's confused so many of our people, they're stuck because they're not going to the root of the Nile. You understand? In that highland. And the highland is the Abyssinian mountains, is Ethiopian highlands. When we go to the root of where it all began, so to speak, or began again. So the peace offering is what? What does the peace offering mean? The peace offering is the expression of fellowship. This means that in the peace offering, this shows who I brethren are, because what fellowship means. You see, this is why we say that we can preach, proclaim, and teach to many of you all, but we can't fellowship with many of you all until you come in to the covenant in the King of Kings and his Christ properly according to the teaching of his imperial majesty. We can't fellowship. In other words, we're not brethren. You're not my true brother until you submit to the teaching of the King of Kings and submit to the testimony of his Christ. Then we are at peace. Then there's salam. Then there's an expression of wendemamachnet fikar, of brotherly love in spirit and in truth. So this is the highest privilege of the Kedus. Did you know that the peace offering, which in ancient times was called a HOTEP or a HOTEP, but the peace offering, the expression of fellowship or brotherhood, wendemamachnet, is the highest privilege. This is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege of the Kedus or the Kedusan. It's a privilege of those who have set themselves apart from the worldly ways. In fact, in every Nazarite, according to what is written in Numbers, by growing their locks, being Israel is set apart, made holy, or set apart to be holy. So they technically are supposed to be Kedus too. So we as Rastafari, we do not have any excuse, and time is later than you think. There's some additional notes on this that are contained in Exodus Exodus chapter 29, at verse 33, there is some important notes that if we have the time and opportunity, we would like to touch on so we can have a fully rounded and a well-grounded understanding of exactly what does atonement mean, so we can walk with our head up high, you understand, and knowledgeable without any sort of doubt to the verity of the teaching of His Imperial Majesty. So this is important. So we're going to 29 verse 33, Exodus 29 and verse 33, and we're studying from the Schofield Oxford edition of the Abba Qiddus, for 33, and it speaks about the kafar, the kapar.